All right, guys, you know the deal. Got the pin on? That means we're talking spoilers. Spoiler warning. You've been warned. Let's do this. Captain America Civil War spoiler review. As I said in my non-spoiler review, which you can check out right here, last chance, guys, spoilers. The Russo brothers directed this and they directed The Winter Soldier. So, kept it in a very Winter Soldier vein. Very much a political thriller, very much an ideological argument. What we got was a lot of that, like, the Avengers destroyed New York, and then the Avengers destroyed Washington, D.C., and then the Avengers destroyed Sokovia, and nothing was really talked about the fact that, like, no, Loki and the Chitauri army destroyed New York. No, Hydra and S.H.I.E.L.D. destroyed Washington, D.C., and no, Ultron destroyed Sokovia. It wasn't real. And then we have the opening sequence that takes place in Africa, which is the fourth instance of the Avengers seemingly like fucking a place up. And I get that when it comes to the Hulk. Obviously, the Hulk went crazy in Age of Ultron and destroyed a lot of property. But you see, here's the thing: they took great lengths to demonstrate the fact that the Avengers are doing their best to save lives, to minimize the human death toll. You had that in the Age of Ultron. They rescued everyone on those helicarrier ships. You had Steve Rogers, who that one car fell off the bridge and he was heartbroken, but then Thor caught the person and brought them back up there. They made a big point to say, no, 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 no. We're trying to contain, we're trying to save lives. The bad guy is doing this. We're not responsible. We are the heroes. They built that up really, really well. And then in this movie, we're just supposed to sort of follow along that no, the Avengers need to be put in check. Let Zack Snyder have that darkened thing, that darkness thing that he wants to do. Superman leveled all of Metropolis, okay. The Avengers saved New York. The Avengers saved DC. Well, you know, Captain America did, and Falcon. I guess the other guys were sort of... My point is that these are heroes, and we've built them up for many, many, many movies now as being heroes. And we're all of a sudden supposed to turn on a dime and say, no, 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 they're bad guys. I think that largely people would think that they are more heroic than they are bad. It's very different than Man of Steel, which is, hey, there's this new alien in town, and he's fucking killing everyone. Ah! You wouldn't think that about the Avengers. They've been around for a long time. They've established themselves as good people. They're heroes. And as I said in my non-spoiler review, I kind of miss the big Marvel villain. I miss the Red Skull. I miss Loki. I miss any sort of big Thanos. Do we want to use Thanos? Are we using Thanos? Are we ever going to use Thanos? And now that we've introduced Spidey, we have a whole litany of Spider-Man villains that we can use. Obviously, we're not going to use them for this movie. It's too new. I get that. The whole Zemo thing of Zemo is the villain and he doesn't actually want to kill the Avengers or use the other Winter Soldiers to kill Steve Rogers or to kill Tony Stark. He wants to turn Tony Stark and Steve Rogers against each other. And this is ground we've already covered. We just did this in Ultron. I'm going to tear them apart from the inside. We also did it in the first Avengers, Joss Whedon's first Avengers. Loki was captured on purpose so that he could unleash the Hulk and tear the team apart from the inside. This whole, we're going to tear the Avengers apart from the inside. We're going to get them to kill each other rather than have to kill them. We've done it. It almost feels like Captain America, the Winter Soldier, and Captain America Civil War could have been like one. You just take part of this and part of that and put them together, and it's kind of one thing. And maybe that's what they were going for. I just kind of felt like this is territory we've already covered, ground that we've already tread. Maybe let's move forward. The one thing I did like about this vendetta that everybody has against the Avengers, you know, Zemo has a vendetta. They open the film where Tony Stark is talking to the college campus of all the students, and then a mother of the students has a vendetta against Tony Stark. There's all these people that have problems with the Avengers because they've lost loved ones because of the Avengers' actions, or as I said, I would argue because of the bad guys' actions, and the Avengers were trying to save as many lives as they could. The one thing that I did think came out of that nicely, but wasn't really touched upon, was the idea that with great power, there must also come great responsibility. And you are Captain America, you are Iron Man, you have the power, thus it is your responsibility to keep these people safe. regardless of what the supervillains do, it is your job to keep people safe. And that wasn't really touched upon in a way that I thought it could be touched upon, because we introduced Spider-Man. Spider-Man is in the film. So now that we have this character whose entire mythos, his entire legacy is built on that notion, with great power, there must also come great responsibility. You have that character in the film. Why not use it? I just thought that was very obvious. Like, let's use it. And again, we have in this film, we have a sort of like a sidestepping around this phrase. Like they don't want to use the phrase exactly. Like, they did it in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, they did, with great power comes great responsibility, which is not quite the quote, but it's close enough, good enough for government work. Let's go with that. And then when they rebooted Spider-Man with Mark Webb, it was like they didn't want to say the phrase exactly. So they had that whole like Martin Sheen monologue about, if you have the power to do something and you don't, then you have a responsibility to do those things, and not choice, responsibility. Like, they didn't want to say the phrase. Say the phrase. It's in the comic books, just say the phrase. And then in this movie, when we introduce Peter Parker, Iron Man goes to his apartment and he has that whole thing about like, well, when you can do the things that I can do and you don't do them, then it's your fault that the bad guys did something, because I can do something, sort of, and so I should, if I can. Just say the phrase. Like, just say the thing. I like the way he was portrayed. I just kind of thought this is a perfect opportunity to say, yo, you have the power, thus you have the responsibility. And it's written out as Stan Lee wrote it, which is, with great power, there must also come great responsibility. That's the phrase, because it's a lesson that Peter Parker learns. He's looking back on his failures and saying, there must also come great responsibility. Now, as I said, guys, I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. I love Spidey, and I did love the brief moments that he was in this movie, but I'm not necessarily sure that his role was necessary in the film. Don't hate me. I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. I loved seeing him fight all the other Avengers in this movie. I thought Tom Holland did a great job as both Peter Parker and as Spider-Man. I thought that they just did so many great things, and they did what they could. I think it comes down to the negotiation with Sony. The scene sort of felt, I don't think it felt shoehorned, like it wasn't in there for no reason. They did a good job of explaining why Tony Stark would want to recruit this young man. And as I read earlier today, just today, I read this, is that why does Tony Stark seek out a 15-year-old to help him on his team? Well, it ties back to the mother at the college who said she lost her teenage son. So perhaps Tony Stark was trying to recoup some of that lost, redeem himself. He cares for the young entrepreneurs, the young inventors, the young scientists, the future Tony Starks of the world. And he sees that in this Peter Parker character, because Peter Parker is a scientific genius. He created his web shooters. He created his costume. I was kind of like, I'm too much of a Spider-Man fan. I'm too much of a Spider-Man fan for Tony Stark to go, here, kid, here's your costume. They were doing the thing where like he didn't have the finances to build himself a nice suit. So Tony gave him the nice suit. He obviously had the finances to build his web shooters and come up with the web serum. So I get it. And then that was also the part where in the fight where Tony was like, you're done, kid. You're done. Stay down. You're done. And he's like, oh yeah, I'm done. As a Spidey fan, I cringed a little bit. I was sort of like, you don't tell Spider-Man he's done. You don't do that. He's Spider-Man, all right? He's the biggest, bestest superhero ever. And you don't tell him, I love Spider-Man too much. I love him too much. I can't separate myself from the material. I recognize that it works in this universe. Oh, that moment where he catches the Winter Soldier's arm and bends it back and is, you have a metal arm? That's awesome. He was the perfect teenager fighting in a group of grown men and women. Just like he's quippy, He's sarcastic. He's really, really powerful. And just the imagery, they did a lot of really good stuff with imagery. That shot where Captain America drops the 18-wheeler on him and he catches it like this and sits back, like that's torn right off the cover of a comic book. This one right here, like that was great. He was really powerful and everyone was surprised at how strong he was and the fact that he was this young kid. That's the beauty of Spider-Man. He's a dork, he's a nerd, he's a nobody, but then he puts the mask on and he can be this really, really heroic, cool guy. Confident. He's confident. He's sexy. He's cool. He saves the day.
You have a man crush on Spider-Man.
No, I just want to be him. I've wanted to be him forever, and now I'm too old to be him. So I guess I'll have to wait until I write the Spider-Man Reign screenplay, then I can cast myself as an older version of Peter Parker. That's my dream, kids. That's my dream. There's hope. I got plenty of time for Spider-Man Reign. That being said, for once, can we put Peter Parker in glasses and a sweater vest? Is it too much to ask? Like, I get it, like nerdy kids now are different than nerdy kids in the 60s, so, you know, he was wearing the hoodie and had the iPod in and, hey Aunt May, what's going on? That's one thing about the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man that I liked was his Peter Parker. His Peter Parker really was like, oh yeah, that guy would get picked on a lot. Yeah, that guy's not cool. He's not cool. You know, the Andrew Garfield Peter Parker was like, what? He's like a skater, and he's really, really handsome, and he's really cool and mysterious and all emo and like not Peter Parker at all. And then we did the young Aunt May thing. Marissa Tomei was the young Aunt May. We did the young Aunt May thing. We're gonna make Aunt May young. Okay. And then we're gonna have Iron Man comment on the fact that she's young. Okay. Because? Black Panther, T'Challa, the king of Wakanda, he kind of got pushed to the side a little bit because I feel like he should have been a more pivotal character, more pivotal to that main fight, and Spider-Man sort of stole the thunder a little bit there. I mean, we had this attack on the UN and Black Panther's father was killed, and that gives him a reason to hate the Winter Soldier. I don't really know that we were inclusive of him in the right way. Nothing was really explained or anything. It was just, oh, he has a vibranium suit, I guess, and he has really superpowers somehow. Like, I get it with the claws and the armor. Apparently he can just take helicopter bullets to the face, if you want to say vibranium suit, okay, but wasn't he literally like running as fast as a car at one point? Captain America can run fast because he's a super soldier. What's the deal with Black Panther? I guess that's to be discovered later. What time he spent in the movie was cool, and it was cool to see him in action, but I do felt like he was a little sidelined to account for this Peter Parker character that really, in the grand scope of the film, Peter Parker, not really necessary. And I hate saying that because I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. But Black Panther, much more of a pivotal character, much more central to this story. So let's use that. And at the end, the Winter Soldier being revealed that the Winter Soldier was the person who killed Tony Stark's parents. That's interesting. That creates a reason for Tony Stark to really, really hate this guy. We already had an entire movie called Captain America, the Winter Soldier, dedicated to people hating the Winter Soldier for reasons that are not the Winter Soldier's fault. So the whole mind control thing is kind of getting old. We had it in the Avengers. Hawkeye was under mind control. Then in Age of Ultron, we had the Hulk was under mind control. Then in Captain America Winter Soldier, the Winter Soldier, he's under mind control. And now we're here at Captain America Civil War, and we're introduced to this like series of words that can like unlock his mind control, the Winter Soldier's mind control, and now he's evil and now he'll do whatever I say. Again, mind control. This is a well that is dry at this point. We're just scraping that barrel for, it's like, come on, man. Do we need another reason to hate the Winter Soldier? We hated him for a movie. I thought this was going to be more like, oh, he's discovering who he really is and what happened and how is it now the year 2016 when he grew up in the 30s and 40s. Like, At the end of The Winter Soldier, you saw him in the museum sort of going on that journey of, oh my God, I did all these horrible things and now I must redeem myself. And yet with this movie, we're sort of backpedaling a little bit back to when he's a bad guy and everyone hates him because he's a bad guy. And the only person that knows he's really good is Steve Rogers. Seen it. As I also said in the non-spoiler review, a little bloated with characters. We are introduced to the Vision and Scarlet Witch's romance. It's budding nicely. I like that they didn't spend too much time on it. It's just sort of hinting at it. That's budding nicely. Then we have to go grab Ant-Man and pull him into the mix. And, you know, that's possible because he was introduced to Falcon in the Ant-Man movie, so great. We'll shove him in a van. We'll just have him show up. Okay, cool. Also, the Giant Man thing. Ant-Man usually shrinks, and then at some point he basically reversed the technology, and now he can grow. I felt like that was just sort of like, oh yeah, here you go, fans. Here's Giant Man for half a second. Guys, I've tried this once in a lab, but I almost ripped myself in half or whatever, and then, oh, he's giant now. It's cool to see, I guess. It did allow Spider-Man to do the thing from Star Wars. Like, what type of layered nerd orgasm are you trying to create in this film where you have, like, Giant Man introduced in the same movie where a new Spider-Man is introduced, and then he references The Empire Strikes Back where Luke took down the AT-AT. Like, there's just all sorts of nerdiness happening in this film. Lots of bits of fan service. You have the Tony Stark talking to Peter about the webbing. That was, a little bit of fan service. He made his own web shooters. Excellent fan service, including him in the fight at all. Fan service. Oh, now Hawkeye's in the film too, even though there was a little bit of finality to his storyline in the Age of Ultron. He has a wife and he has a baby on the way and he has a family and he wants out, and sort of he arranged this thing with Nick Fury to get out, but now he's back. What are you doing, Hawkeye? Disappointing my kids. That fight on the airplane tarmac, I'm not sure that it was 100% innocent of being manufactured to a degree. Really, there's two people, maybe three if you want to include Bucky, that need to have a conflict in this movie, and that's Captain America and Iron Man. And all of these other characters, they work. There was a lot of fun. You can see why War Machine would be on Iron Man's side and why, Bucky would be on Cap's side and Falcon would be on Cap's side, but maybe Vision, being the very methodical person that he is, would team with Iron Man. And so all of the alliances, they made sense. But it was a lot of characters. But like I said, nothing felt shoehorned. I do feel like that overall it was handled with really great care and very smartly. I know that fans are now clamoring for multiple characters to be in multiple movies. Even though it's an Iron Man movie, we want to see these characters. And if it's a Captain America movie, we still want to see these characters. Every once in a while, someone can make an appearance. Ant-Man was a great example of that. Ant-Man breaks into the Avengers facility. Falcon shows up. Hey, they're in the same universe. Awesome. But it's not a full-blown, like, Ant-Man, Falcon, Black Widow, Captain America. Like, it's not a full-blown thing. Spider-Man Homecoming, Iron Man is going to be in that movie somehow. And we don't know who the villain is going to be yet. I heard Michael Keaton was originally supposed to be the Vulture, but now he's not going to be the Vulture. The Vulture would be fucking awesome, by the way. Let's please not do the Green Goblin yet again. Let's just get away from that. Because we have Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery. We have Spider-Man villains now. And the MCU has been lacking in these villains. Let's use a good villain. Maybe we can have Vulture. Maybe we can have Mysterio. Maybe we can have... God forbid, Venom. I mean, we kind of ruined that one. That's going to be the real trick, is picking a Spider-Man villain that is, like, devastating to the Avengers as a whole, but one that hasn't already been fucked up by all the other attempts. All that being said, guys, I liked the movie. I'm a Marvel fan through and through. I'm a DC fan too. I like Batman. I like Superman. But this MCU is under great creative control. This is another wonderful addition to the MCU, and it is definitely a movie that I will be buying on Blu-ray. I'll be watching again. I will be hoping that there are extended cuts or deleted scenes. I really enjoyed this next step in the MCU, and I'm really excited to see where we take it with Doctor Strange, especially. How does he fit into this world? And Spider-Man Homecoming. I'm excited for Spider-Man! That's it! Those are my spoiler thoughts on Captain America Civil War. Hopefully you've seen the movie if you're watching this video, because I just spoiled the shit out of a lot of stuff for you. What did you think? Do you agree with me? Do you not agree with me? Let me know in the comments. And if you like this video and you want to hear me ramble about stuff other than Spider-Man, because I swear I'm not trying to let Spider-Man overrule this, you can always click right there to subscribe. Sweet.
I have a spoiler question.
Yes.
Well, so Vision,
Yes.
he was the result of Ultron
And Jarvis.
and Jarvis.
Yeah.
So, and he's supposed to be all-knowing. So why is nobody listening to him?
Because we're arrogant. Human beings, we're arrogant. They're kind of doing this like Data from Star Trek thing, where, or maybe like Robin Williams from, what is it, Millennial Man or whatever that was? Remember that? And we have this synthetic being. So is he a real person? Does he deserve real person rights? You know, that's an argument that they didn't really dive into, but also...
That would be interesting to
That would be interesting.
Because it is very, I mean, he seems to have feelings.
He's discovering emotion, this human thing of emotion. Cooking for Scarlet Witch, and he's never tasted anything. And he doesn't say, like, I really like you. He says, no one seems to hate you, or whatever his line was. Where he's like, no one seems to dislike you. And that's his, like, robot version of saying, I like you.
Aww.
It's like Little Mermaid. What's this world up there that I don't know anything about, right?
Full of such quote-unquote wonderful things.
It's full of such wonderful things,
Every time she
like
sings that
mass
song,
destruction.
I'm